Well, every time we look at Russia at the moment, we sigh and groan. But the point is, Russia is not a mouthpiece for Putin and Putin's cronies. And there are people who are prepared to speak out and question the edicts of tyranny. So there's a fellow called Anton Krasovsky, a gay journalist who headed, I think it was RT News, the RT Russian language service, Russia Today. I've occasionally been caught in a position where I've been interviewed by Russia Today, and it's always very interesting because they put you online or they put you on hold while they do the rest of their news, and so you listen in. And on the times when I've done it, I've found most of the time I want to and have questioned the previous claims made in the previous piece. So I've not been a terribly good interview candidate because I've not towed the RT party line, but Anton Krasovsky is pretty well beneath contempt. So during an interview, he started saying that we should drown Ukrainian babies. I certainly wouldn't have tolerated that if I'd been on the other end of his questioning, and I would have interrupted and I would have questioned what he was saying directly. The person who was being interviewed didn't do that. In fact, he was quite keen. In fact, he played along, and I think the two of them were quite keen to go on a drowning expedition themselves. Now, as a result of this, RT suspended Anton Krasovsky. He's a very charismatic man. And as I say, he was the first person ever in Russian media to come out as gay. So maybe he gets a brownie point for that. I can't see his career being rekindled in any way, given the new legislation against LGBTQ plus promotion in Russia, but there we are. Maybe he has some special skill that I cannot possibly fathom. Maybe he's up there with Medvedev, with the limp handshake. But who knows? Who knows? There are a lot of gay people in Moscow, and they are suffering because of this legislation, and it is completely intolerable. I also happen to know there's a lot of gay people in the Russian parliament, and I suppose they're there because Putin thinks that he has something on them. It's a blackmail opportunity, or at least a way of ensuring that he gets what he wants. Very, very, very troubling. Now, Krasovsky, of course, is vile, racist, and savage. I don't see why you can't be vile, racist, and savage, and also gay. Being gay doesn't make you anything. It doesn't give you some sort of virtue. But certainly people should not be condemned by a law which prohibits the expression of identity in Russia. No, he's been completely exonerated. Of course he has been completely exonerated, and it is quite extraordinary. The report, which was drawn up to investigate what he had said about drowning Ukrainian babies, says there is no corpus delicti. There is no crime that he can be accused of. And I report that in the appeal in question, there is no evidence of committing or preparing to commit crimes against minors or with their participation. Now, what is interesting is that a member of the Duma, a member of the Russian parliament, has dared now to question that. And the person in question is the Moscow City Duma deputy Yevgeny Stupin. He's dared to put his head above the parapet and say that this seems wrong. Of course it's wrong. Of course it's wrong. So he's not kindling an enmity and strife. is what he says on Twitter. Apparently the worst assumptions come true. They decided to wipe clean a state propagandist. And he personally would hold Krasovsky criminally responsible, as indeed I hold Putin criminally responsible for the way that he has kindled hatred of Ukrainians. So many people across Russia have Ukrainian backgrounds. The way that Putin has kindled hatred of gay people. So many people across Russia are gay. How do people express their identity as Ukrainians or as gay people when there are laws and when there are savage people on the media on a daily basis promoting this sort of intolerance and this sort of hatred? And why are we surprised that the war hasn't ended? Because it is supported and fueled by propaganda. It's, yes, indeed, Mr. Zelensky needs missiles. Yes, indeed, he needs weapons. But we have a skill set in the United Kingdom that we should have been deploying. We can challenge this propaganda. We haven't challenged the propaganda. We should challenge it. We should not accept what is said. And we should be intervening at every possible stage to challenge this propaganda and challenge the supremacy of the Kremlin over the airwaves, not only in Russia, but beyond, but certainly in Russia. I know from first hand the way Russian propaganda works. I know the way the Russian media works. I had evidence that even when I was interviewed over quite pointless things, I think I was doing an interview about Boris, Russian media dubbed completely fake words into my mouth and put it out as mine. But I had the original tape, and I went public with that. So if they can do it over something insignificant and over someone insignificant like me, then how much more so can they do this when they've got a point to make and when they've got, quote, a war to win? One of the primary weapons of this Russian war is propaganda and is state television.